Hello everyone, welcome back to another interesting tutorial. This is Azulam here. Welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, please subscribe and don't forget to turn on the bell icon so that you get notified anytime I post a new video. And for my returning subscribers, thank you so much for the love. So for today, we're going to discuss on how to cut and sew a baby girl dress with peplum and a baby sleeve. So if you're interested, keep on watching. I'll be using to make this dress. Here I have a leftover fabric. This is very small, so I'll be using this for the peplum and the upper parts, and this is my lining, my satin, and of course my net. So I'm going to start by cutting out the peplum because this is very small. Whatever I have left, I'll use it to cut out the upper parts. So I'm going to fold this now to cut out the peplum parts of this dress. So this is it. I just folded it in 4 parts, same way you fold when you want to make a circle dress. So I'm going to divide the waist measurement by 6.8, which is the formula for a full circle. So if I do that, the waist measurement is 22 divided by 6.8 is going to give me 3.5. But because I'll be adding a little pleat on this part, that is this peplum part, I'll be adding a little ruffles or gathers to this part. So I'll be making it 5 inches. So I'm going to mark out 5 inches, which is the radius now, all round. And I'll be using the length of 4 inches because I want it very small. So by the time I finish sewing, I'll end up having 3 inches. So I'm going to mark out the 5 and the 4 all round. So here, as you can see, I just mark out the 5 inches, which is the radius, and the length of my peplum. So now I'm going to cut this out, and then I'll use my bodice pattern to cut out the upper part. This is the sleeve pattern. I'm going to alter this sleeve because I'll be adding a pleat to this end, and I'll be giving it that baby sleeve curve at this part. So I'm going to use this now and cut it all out. Then we start sewing. All cut out, as you can see. So I'm going to take the lining now for the peplum and then sew. Okay, I am going to keep it like this and then sew it all the way down to the other end, and also close up the side. And then for the upper part, I will just sew the shoulder and only the neckline because we'll be adding sleeve to this part. So here I just joined the neckline and the shoulder. So now if you have your band and your belt, this is the time to add them before closing the sides. So I'm going to add the band. I have my band here. Okay. And this is my belt. So this is my belt. I just did the sewing. Okay, so like I was saying, this is my band and this is the belt. Okay. So now I'm going to place my band this way, and now this is where you add the belt by the side, as you can see, and make sure that you leave your half pinned for your sewing allowance here, then you pin your belt. So for the band here, I have, this is 12 inches, and this is 1 3/4, which is 3.5. Okay, if you open it up, it's 3.5. If you close it, it is 1 3/4. So I'm going to pin it. And my belt, I have, this is 26. Okay, I think it's a bit long, maybe I'll reduce it. And the width I have here is 1 3/4 as well. Okay, so I'm going to pin it now, and I'll also pin the second one by the side, and then I'll close the sides before we now cut out the sleeve. Remember I said I'll be using this sleeve pattern, but I'm going to make it split on this shoulder area. Here, as you can see, I just joined the sides together and stitch my belt to it. So now I am going to take my pattern now. That is the sleeve pattern. Remember I said that I'll alter this sleeve pattern because I'll be adding pleats on this shoulder part. So I'm going to do that quickly and then cut it out on my fabric, and then we continue. You can also check out my video on how to draft a basic sleeve. That way you will know how to go about this part. With the lining cut out, now you can see that I just, on this part, I just gave it a little curve. If I open it up, you can see that it's not straight, so I just gave it that little baby sleeve curve on this part. So I'm going to take my lining now and place it over, making sure the front is facing each other, and then I am going to close it up and turn it the other way and give it a good press, and I'll repeat the same on this other one. So this is it. After sewing it, I just turn it over and give it a good press, and then I use my straight stitch to secure it this way. So now I'm going to add the pleats here and there on this edge, and then I'll add it. I'll now sew it in on the upper part of this dress, and then we'll continue with the lower part. So here it is after attaching the sleeve, and you can see that the upper part is ready. So I'm going to take my net, because for the lower part I'll be using 3 yards for the 3 layers that you're seeing there. So I'm going to cut it 1 yard each. So I'm going to take 1 layer and place it, because I'll be cutting it separately. So this is the first layer, and for the first layer I'll be cutting it out. That is, the length is going to be 11 inches, and I'll be using 8 inches for my radius, because I want this part, the ruffles, to be very big. So I'll be making it 8 inches. That is the radius, and the length. The first layer I'll make the length 11 inches, the second layer will be 10, and the third one will be 9. You can also decide to make it ½ inch distance from each other. So I'm going to cut them all out now and then gather it together. So this is the first layer. This is 1 yard here. I just folded it into 4. you know, the same way you fold when you want to make a circle dress. And this is 1 yard here. So now I am going to cut out the 8 inches by 11 like I explained earlier, and I will repeat the same on these other two that I have here. Out, this is what I have. I am going to arrange them accordingly and then use my gather stitch to run it all the way down to the other end. And when I finish that, I'm going to pull the waist until I have 22 inches, which is the waist measurement I am working with. So here I just sew that and gather it. Here I have my 22 inches as the waist measurement. So I am going to take the peplum now and sew it together on the waist with this part before I will now cut out my satin. So here I have my peplum sewn on this waist area together with my net. So I am going to take my satin now and fold in a 180-degree way, and then I am going to add net inside to add a little boost to this because I don't want to use hard nets. But if you want to use hard net, at this point you just join it together with your satin, and by the time you finish joining with the upper part, all you have to do is to join with your hard net before the lining. But I don't want to use hard net, so I'm going to do a little I'm going to add net on my satin before placing this on it. So this is my satin. This is a leftover. It's very small, it's not up to half yard. So I am going to fold it, you know, like I said earlier, same way you fold when you want to make a 180-degree circle dress. So I just folded it that way. So I'm going to divide the waist measurement by 3.14, which is the formula for 180-degree flip. And if I do that, it will give me 7 inches. So I'm going to mark the 7 inches as my radius, and the length of my satin will be 10 inches. Remember, it should be 1 inch shorter than the main fabric that you're working with. So I'm going to mark all that out and then cut it out before placing my net on it. So this is it after cutting it out. I'm going to open it up now, and remember that the length that I have here is 10 inches. I'm going to mark out the first line will be 5 inches, so I'll just make it 2 lines. I'm going to mark out 5 inches, and then I'll mark all the way to the other end, and then the next one now I'm going to make it 9 inches. This is what I'll be cutting out my net. Okay, so now as you can see, here is 5 inches and that's 3 inches. That is 3 inches from this line. So I'm going to mark this till I get to the other end, and I'll also mark this 3 inches till I get to the other end of this. Then on my net, I'm going to cut. First one is going to be 5 inches, and the second one is going to be 9 inches. So after marking it on my satin, this is how it looks. And now remember that I said the first one is going to be 5 inches, and then it is 3 inches distant from this other one, meaning the second line is going to be 8 inches. So here I have 3 yards of net. I just folded it for easy cutting. So I took to cut out for the first layer, which is which I said will be 5 inches, and I'll just cut only one because I don't want this dress to have a lot of weight. So I'm going to remove this part. And then I'm going to mark the first one, which is 5 inches. And remember that the second one is going to be 8 inches. So here I just cut all of them out. So I decided to double it. I have enough net. So I'm going to use the first 5 inches, and I'm going to place them together and use my gather stitch and run it, and then I will sew it on this first line. Now this second net, I will also double it and sew and do exactly as I said, but this time I'll be adding this one on this second line. After sewing the 2 lines that I explained earlier, so I'm going to take the part that has the peplum now and sew it exactly on the waistline. Okay, so I'm going to sew this now before we join the upper parts of this dress. So this is it after joining it together with the layers that I did earlier. So at this point now, this is where you're going to take the color that you're working with, or the one you prefer from the upper parts, to weave all these edges. And when you want to do this part, if you want it to have that curly effect, you use your fishing line and then do it. But if you can't do it, you can take it to the market. There are some people that specialize in doing that. So I'm going to do this last. So right now I am going to take the upper part and then join it together with this lower part, and we are almost done with the dress. So this is it after joining it with the upper part of this dress. Okay, like I said earlier, you just need to weave this edge with this color or any color that you're using for the upper part, and then you cut your lining. Remember that you cut your lining the same way you cut your satin, and then you join and close up the dress and add your zipper. For the zipper, you can also check out my video on how to attach an invisible zip to a ball dress, and you get to see how to do all that. So this is how easy and simple it is to go about this dress. So that is it for today. Please subscribe and don't forget to turn on the bell icon so that you know anytime I post a new video. So guys, see you all soon.